Hi, good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Prof.
Hi, good evening, Bay. I see you here. Thanks for joining us.
Hi,
Hi,
It's my pleasure.
you're here as well. Thank you.
Hi.
Hi. So as you probably have figured out, we are in a breakout room. This is the Building Performance and Sustainability Master's Program. So we will be having this event in this breakout room. So first of all, thank you to both Mr. Bay and Mr. An for joining us as our esteemed alumni members. So perhaps at this time, let's get started. For those participants who are on this screen that I'm seeing and who are here to know a little bit more about the Master of Science in Building Performance and Sustainability program, let me extend a very warm welcome to all of you. I am Chandrasekhar, professor in the Department of Built Environment, and I am the program director of the MSc BPS program. So as part of this session where we are going to try and share with you our thoughts about why this program is something that you may want to consider as part of your advancement in your academic pursuits. So I'm going to start by sharing my screen and making a very short presentation about the program scope itself and what it's meant to be accomplishing. So let me just ask this question. Are you able to see my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, wonderful. I just want to make sure that put it on. Okay, let me just go into this mode. All right, wonderful. So I'm going to just make it full screen. So that's what I thought you want to see. So it's a very short presentation, and I'm just calling this presentation Be a Champion of Well and Green Buildings. I'm not sure if most of you have heard this term well and green. Well has to do with the occupant health and well-being of a person, no matter what kind of indoor setting we are in. And green obviously refers to the energy efficiency part of it, the carbon impact, the decarbonization effort that the whole world is talking about, basically sustainable design and sustainable buildings. So how is all of this related to what this program is about? Let me just proceed on that. The Master of Science Building Performance and Sustainability graduate program is offered by the Department of the Built Environment. It is actually a multidisciplinary educational program, and you'll soon see the kind of participants that we typically have in this program. They're architects, engineers, sometimes even physicists, building graduates, architectural engineering, building engineering. So the whole works of disciplines that have got to do with anything about how we can look at building as something that ought to be sustainable and ought to provide the right kind of environment to occupants. Can you play a part in that if you go through this program? Let's see. Well, NUS and our domain in the built environment, we are sort of ranked 6th globally, and we are humbled by such a ranking. And let me just proceed to say what is involved in this program, MSc BPS in short. Why should you consider this program? What we are talking about here is a sound understanding of the sustainability aspect that I just mentioned, the design, the operation of it, and how we can look at it in a multidisciplinary approach. And one of the things that we always highlight about the program is when you have this meaningful interaction, talking to your fellow participants in the classroom, people coming from diverse professional backgrounds, some with, just having started their career in the field, and others with considerable years of experience. So it's the dynamic interaction that happens in the classroom that is one of the hallmark of the program. You benefit from lecturers with international standing. Those of us who teach on this program, we have international connection. We participate in global activities in the field, and all that sort of what we call a holistic integrated approach to education. And then, of course, you graduate with an internationally recognized degree and you qualify yourself in the broad field of building performance and sustainability. I want to highlight one thing. This is the Singapore Green Plan 2030. For those of you who are familiar with it, this is a kind of a plan, a master plan that we have in Singapore towards reaching 2030, and how all the basic aspects of sustainability, energy aspects, green, buildings, how to make buildings resilient for all the challenges that we face, all of that are brought into fruition. I highlighted those boxes. These are some of the very direct connection with the Singapore Green Plan that our MSc BPS program entails. So if you look at the first box, we are talking about, the greener infrastructure in buildings. Green 80% of Singapore's buildings by 2030 by gross floor area. 80% of new buildings to be super low energy buildings from 2030. These are part of the building standards and rating system that we have in Singapore. Best in class green buildings to see 80% improvement in energy efficiency compared to 2005 levels. So these are all very clear targets, clear commitment that we want to be able to see achieved in Singapore. And then there's green energy and keeping Singapore cool to address the effect of urban heat island that all of us again can relate to very easily. Climate change impact, how that is affecting the way we design, the way we use our built environments. Let's not forget that built environments, these buildings that we create, the community of buildings that we create are for us, for people like you and me. We have to experience this environment. We have to benefit from the kind of ideal, optimal conditions that we can expect in such environments. If you have never kind of placed this in context, we spend up to 90% of our time indoor in built environment. And then about 25% of our life we spend in residential setting in our, say, sleeping environment, kind of environment we need for our sleep, to enhance our sleep quality. All these are important aspects that we address in this curriculum. The profile of people who go through this program cover all these educational background: architecture, architectural engineering, mechanical engineering, project and facilities management, building and construction management, HVAC engineering, heating, ventilating, air conditioning, applied physics, civil engineering, you name it. Several of the disciplines that we are traditionally aware of need to come together in an integrated manner. So integrated approach is an important aspect of what we highlight and stress in our curriculum to the various courses that we offer. So question in your mind might be, if you do this program, where does it take you in terms of your career prospects? Some of them are listed quite clearly over here. You can find your niche in environmentally sustainable design projects like ESD consultants who are engaged in integrated and collaborative designs. You see, collaborative design, collaborative approach is the buzzword. We can't do things in silo. They have to come together in an integrated approach. We make use of simulation tools to understand how buildings will perform, how their performance can be enhanced. And that's what you gain from being through this program. MSc BPS graduates, they have knowledge and skill sets in this whole wide area of what I personally see as important traits moving forward: smart green buildings, occupant well-being, hence the name well and green that comes in our discussion. Energy auditing and management, how is the building performing? How can we even evaluate that? For small buildings, facilities, large facilities, airports, malls, which city doesn't have it? Which country doesn't aspire to have such development as part of the various activities that happen in several countries, in almost every country? It also enhances the standing and marketability by getting you to go back to the core disciplines if you so wish, as sustainability trained professionals, or you can come into research or education. Some graduates or some people who graduate with this degree may go on to do higher degrees by PhD kind of a program, either with us or somewhere else in some other part of the world. Okay, This is just putting it to a different form, the various areas in which you can find employment opportunities. I just want to highlight towards my last couple of slides of presentation. We have in our college, this building is a net zero energy building. It's called SD4. It's our own building on NUS campus. It won the BCA Green Mark Platinum in 2018. It's the first custom built net zero energy building in Singapore, designed from scratch as a zero energy building and constructed and commissioned in January of 2019. So we got about 3.5 years of the building in operation. And what do we find? We find that this building is now Green Mark Positive. It won the Green Mark Positive Energy Award recently. I believe it was just in this year. And then we found that it has been receiving several accolades internationally. There it is on the WELL certification. It's another international certification to say how the building compares in terms of the occupant comfort and health and well-being. Yet another accolade from the International Living Future Institute about its sustainable design aspects. So with that, I end. I am my presentation. I have the pleasure of introducing two of our esteemed alumni who have gone through this program. They are kind of champions in their own right in the sustainable domain in the industry in Singapore. We'll first have Mr. Bay Lin Hui share his thoughts. I'm going to just stop sharing my screen and pass the screen to him for him to share his thoughts. And then it will be followed by Mr. Ang Chi Ming. I will let them introduce themselves, where they are and what they currently do. So the first alumni to share with us is Mr. Bay. Over to you.
Thank you, Prof, for the introduction. Normally, my colleague call me Bay. I'm currently the VP and for the Department of Project Design and Development with CapitaLand now. And for the past 10 years with CapitaLand, I've been involved in many of the development projects, and mainly on the M&E design management. I also involved in some of the energy efficiency project improvement, like the retrofit of chiller plant, improvement of chiller plant efficiency. As well as currently, I'm taking a lead for a new development, which is a greenfield project for a biomedical facility. And it's my pleasure to be with you today in this event. And in most of the seminars and talk, speaker would normally like to share good project design practices and achievement. And for this time, I would like to share with you the learning points and the design failure experience of some of my projects. So may I allow me to share my screen?
I think you should be able to, Bay. Are you able to?
Can you all see my screen?
It's coming up. Yeah, we can. If you want to go into the presentation mode, yeah, good, very good.
Okay, the key challenges that in a typical development project is due to the conventional building design approach, which is a very fragmented approach, lack of integrated and iterative design process, and normally the design architect would dominate the design decision over emphasis on the architectural design aspect, and involvement of the other trades like the MEP and ESD engineers in design was always too late. So when I was attending the BPS program, two of the key topics that caught my attention were the integrated building design, the building performance audit. And integrated building design is a very good approach where an integrated method and resources to enable different trade specialists in respective areas to participate together in design for construction at the same time. And also it's a good practice to during the post-construction at operation and maintenance stage to conduct a periodic audit and evaluation to identify design and operation gaps such as the operation, maintenance, IAQ, special problems, etc., and develop action plan to improve building performance and ensure sustainability operation. Next, I would like to share with you some of the case study. This is the first case study, and this is the first version of the architecture and M&E design schematic for 8-story biomedical building and with a 1 basement level. As you may see, the M&E plant room located in a sunken area at lower basement level, which consists of electrical substation, the transformer, the switch room, chiller, pumps, and water tank. And the major challenges and potential operation risks we face is that with this design, the localized flooding at the lower basement will result in potential electrical hazard and system failure. And accessibility for the repair, replacement of gigantic equipment such as chiller, pump, and transformer is very challenging. And you look at the rooftop level was enclosed by a 6-meter facade and walls, and which will lead to poor ventilation at the roof level and affect the performance of cooling towers and the 40 numbers of MV fans. So these are the first version of design, and resulted into a further relation to improve the system building design. And next, this is the improved version of the design. And you look at the basement, actually that the M&E pyramid now is constructed at the elevated level of the basement 1. And this eliminates potential operation risk and impact caused by flooding, and also ease the access for maintenance and replacement of the M&E system. And now we can see that the electrical substation is being housed at the ground level now. And for the chiller now is being relocated to the roof level, which is adjacent to the cooling tower. And for the roof level, now the facade is being incorporated with the perforated panels to improve the ventilation at the roof level. And even the wall initially was also 6 meters high. The parapet wall behind the facade is being lowered down to 2.3 meters below the, means the level is below the height is below the perforated panel. This is the improved version of the design. This is another case study, and the building is in operation. This is a restaurant located at the 2nd level of the building, and it consists of the alfresco area for the dining space for this restaurant. Unfortunately, the kitchen exhaust from the facade louvers short-circuited into the naturally ventilated alfresco area due to the uncontrolled wind direction and speed, and this will affect the so-called the comfort level as well as the IAQ of the dining area. And the third case study is the HVAC design in the main lobby with double volume ceiling height. And you can see that the ceiling height is as high as 10 meters, and the fan coil is placed and the diffuser is placed at the ceiling level at 10 meter height. And due to the height of the diffuser, it will be very challenging to achieve a very effective air distribution for comfort cooling as well as comfort heating during summer and winter. And also there are a challenge to accessibility for maintenance of the fan coil at a very high level. And I think in terms of the air distribution during winter, it will be worse, because to provide comfort heating, the hot air, due to the buoyancy force of the hot air, I think it will be very challenging to create a very effective comfort heating during the winter season. So this is also one of the very interesting learning point from this design. So for interest of time, I think I will stop here and I will end my presentation here. Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bay. Thanks for sharing some of these practical challenges faced by say practitioners in the industry. We can now go to Mr. Ang Chim Eng for his thoughts, and then we'll have a panel discussion.
Sure.
You may want to stop sharing your screen, Mr. Bay.
Okay.
Thanks, Paul Shekhar. I will share my screen first. After
Okay.
Bay exit, yeah, right.
Right.
I mean, while Bay is trying to exit the screen, probably I would like to first of all thanks for the opportunity given.
Okay.
Which I will not share. I'll share different things that I'm going to share more of what I gained personally as experience-wise through the program, and how does this program actually, in fact, help me in my career and taking up my new role in the service provider arms. Let me find the share buttons first. Right. You able to see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that's great. Let me go to presentation modes. Right, just not many slides. Just prepare myself 2 slides. First of all, to share with all the potential students about myself. I'm currently the Deputy Director looking after innovation and sustainability with SMM Private Limited. SMM is a FM arms service provider under the member of Savannah Jurong Group. So what is my current role that I'm doing right now? I'm actually leading a digital FM team looking into smart and sustainable facility management solutions to the client, right? So what do we do as a team, as a digital team? We try to reimagine FM by introducing innovative and sustainability solutions to operational colleagues, mainly to improve productivities and efficiency of the building performance, right? On top of technologies, solution implementations, we also leverage on data, or we revisit processes to improve workflows, equipment reliabilities, and its performance. Prior to joining SMM, I worked in Asset Enhancement Unit under Office of University Campus Infrastructure, NUS, as Deputy Director. So I oversee the NUS campus operation, something like head of operations, looking after the GFA of 1.4 million meter square of built-up area of the 3 campuses. And also main thing is I also have an opportunity after graduate as an alumni to still continue to work with College of Design and Engineering, the Built Environment Prof, to look into new technologies. And we trial some of these technologies actually in University Town as a living lab, which is important because this kind of small little research or POC projects will actually enable us to actually bring these ideas or innovation thought into a live buildings as a service provider right now. Actually given these opportunities. So I share this slide is like from why I want to take out this course to wow myself, like taking out this course. Right. First and foremost, when I wanted to upgrade myself, the question is always why BPS. So I felt I actually browsed around what is the course that have looked into, exactly they have highlighted that looking into from a development perspective to operational of a building perspective, that actually look into an end-to-end of a building life. You can do it that way, from the building being born to the life cycle end of a buildings, meaning from development stage to operational stage, to integrate and leverage from design implementations to operational aspects, informations, holistically looking end to end. So that is some things that BPS provide, that kind of subject syllabus that able to do outside. Importantly, what the course also enable relevant information that is required in my job, in my career. It enabled me in terms of the knowledge wise to apply immediately actually in my job. Actually, I apply some ideas and thoughts that what I learned into facility management when I was still in NUS, right? Of course, important thing is it look into the whole ecosystem. Prof highlighted that in driving toward the Smart FM 2030 together with the agency, this course actually enable us to rescale ourselves in looking into the Smart FM environments, which the subject actually covers holistically. So in work-wise, I'm able to actually take whatever academic knowledge gain and theoretically information actually and put that into practical. Because sometimes we can think it as a very operational angle, but we may not understand the concept and academic theory behind, which BPS program actually so-called enrich us in this area. When we apply, we take a shortest path, shortest route to enable to actually implement certain new ideas, new solution actually in our course of works, in my course of work particularly. It also allowed me to correlate and solve issues and look things at different perspective. When we look at a typical, say, feedback problem like aircon not cold, it may also correlate to indoor air quality issues, to your equipment setting issues or this kind of things, where in BPS program, they have different subject syllabus to actually teach you in depth of all these informations. We are able to take it back and correlate issue together to solve a feedback problems, right? So it is actually very important in facility maintenance angle. By looking at that, we are able to also look into recalibrating existing systems, to look into areas that introduce certain probably technology sensors or content sometimes to actually measure information to let us take it back and re-diagnose the data, and to re-look into designing that back into the system, and to form a new system integrations, integrate the process, revisit the process again, all this kind of thing. This is possible with the rich knowledge that if, let's say, we look back into equipment design and back into the smart building operation angle, from the design perspective to the operational perspective, we're able to gel that with the theory knowledge that we learn from the course. I personally learned from the course. And particularly, actually, the final year projects, which is the studio project that if you take out the program, you will find that it's very enriching. I would never imagine that I can do it together with my teammates. That surprisingly, amazingly, we did it. From learning a multiple software program, to even the project is never, how should I put it, a live project was actually given to us in terms of the greenfield. It's an actual project site with information, allow the students to actually have a lot of free place to input whatever we learn. I take a part-time course for my 2 years learning into a singular project, and while it actually, in fact, it was a very enriching so-called subject that I do enjoyed it at the end of my second year. The last part is definitely the outcome, that what it actually benefit me, right? The knowledge gain actually embraced me to lead my current innovation and technology team, from a very operational ground to manage daily maintenance feedback issue from tube, like lighting problem, aircon problem, to where I am now, leading innovation and sustainability actually in my new organizations. Looking into with operational background, I'm able to actually look into innovation and sustainability solutioning, put that into the live or operation building to my colleagues, to help them to actually improve the capability to even, as I earlier mentioned, bring in the equipment operational efficiency to a next level and better. And importantly, also to drive the organization, to drive the whole built environment toward a smart FM goal in 2030. So if you ask me, all this is possible. At the end of the day, whatever the program syllabus equip me with all this kind of information knowledge, which I'm able to put back that into practices actually in the live environment industry, and that actually make me today possible to actually lead the new innovation sustainability issue in SMM. Right? Thank you, Prof. I think that actually ends my sharing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ang. Thank you, Mr. Bay as well, and Mr. Ang again one more time. Maybe if you can stop sharing the screen, we are back to this gallery view. You can get to see each other a little better. Why don't we just open this up more for like a Q&A session, discussion session, and the participants, if when you're asking the question, if you'd like to turn your camera on, please go ahead. We also get to know who you are and where you are from. Yeah, so let's have an open discussion about any question that you may have about what we have shared, as well as about the program in general. Anybody? So maybe what I will do is, whilst we await any question from the floor, I'm just going to pose a general question to both of you, Mr. Bay and Mr. Ang. Apart from what you have shared about what you have gained from the program and how you're applying it in the current practice and how it's so relevant to the industry, I want to ask maybe a couple of very specific points, and these are related to something the whole world is seeing currently. One question I think very clearly is the recent pandemic that we have all been exposed to in the world. In this program, I think we do discuss and offer quite a bit related to pandemic response or pandemic resilience. So I just would like to kind of, tap your thoughts into that aspect. And the other aspect is we do talk about energy efficiency and making buildings perform better. This whole notion about decarbonization. If you look at operational decarbonization, that sort of a thing. So just your thoughts, the health and well-being aspect related to pandemic response. And then the next question is about the decarbonization. Your thoughts on how do you look at this moving forward in the industry and globally for all of us. Maybe Mr. Bay, you want to take a first cut at it?
I think the past 2 years during the pandemic period, it was really very challenging for our industry, and particularly for the real estate, as a real estate owner and operator. And we forced to work differently, and also likewise for our tenants. And we also work with government closely to give a rental rebate to help our tenants and to help them to do some, after the so-called during this post-pandemic period, we also post-COVID period, and when open up, we also do a lot of promotion to help our tenants in our retail mall particularly, and also in the commercial building. And for example, actually one of the key measure and action taken by the management is that most of our management level staff, actually that part of our bonus is paid with a capital staff voucher. So we are forced to spend and eat and buy in our shopping mall to help our tenant. Mm-hmm. And of course, to look into some of the operation measure that what we do during the pandemic period, and how to so-called further enhance the IAQ between the building. And one of the challenging part is that in most of the commercial office building, we do have the purging system to purge and clean the air in the early morning before the air conditioning turn on for operation. But retail mall, we don't have the system. And eventually I was tasked to look into how to do that. And finally, I suggested to my management what we can do is that, actually, the retail mall consists of a lot of the F&B, the kitchen, cooking, and with the fire regulation that all these F&B kitchen area and between the mall, we have to equip with the so-called the exhaust system, and we try to turn on the exhaust system as well as the engineering smoke control system in the early morning, mm-hmm. to purge the air instead of installing a new purging system. So these are the measures that we have taken, and by exploring whatever potential area we can improve the IAQ, especially during the pandemic period. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bay. Mr. Ang, any thoughts? There is a question in the chat box. I'll read that shortly. But is there your thoughts, quick thoughts on this point?
Probably I first of all share the pandemic. Actually, where does it also bring the service provider us to be? I think it actually fast forward a lot of things that the industry wanted to push, and that is digitizations. So I think post-pandemic actually push a lot of people from a client I used to be to a service provider today, that we push digitization very much faster than probably everybody want to do in that processor system, paperless, end-to-end, that kind of things. In today's context, if I may help to give my view on the chatbot query about how does BIM technology actually look into that. If you look at construction method, I believe that BIM actually help to actually fasten some work processes, minimizing on-site crashes into services. How about in FM? Actually, in today's context, BIM FM become one of the things. If you actually go in Google, in BCA website, you find that BIM FM is something that we also, SMM itself wanted to push to the industry. Just to share everybody that we are introducing, we have actually implemented BIM FM to Temasek Body. We are also implementing BIM FM to NUS Newtown for 3 buildings. And we are also going to actually put BIM FM in SJ campus, completed by end this year. Again, what is BIN-FM? Basically, we put the BIN into a very light format, leveraging into like a bit of information, this kind of thing, to actually help at one grace to improve the productivity actually for FM perspective. That is something that's similar to digital twin, but I'm not there to say that it's actually digital twin. BIN will definitely help in long-term operation in future when we talk about A&D, if you ask me in this perspective. An important thing you start to look to, if let's say in the 20 years old building a bit, when all the 2D drawing, the CAD drawings are actually missing, BIN will definitely be a good tool when you actually do a scanning and actually do a design implementation. So this will actually help us in that angle.
Thank you so much. I think I'm glad that you took the question from the chat box. Certainly, BIM technology and the impact of digitalization is the way to go forward. As in any aspects of the society, certainly in the built environment sector and in the construction industry in general, I think a big leap forward, like you said, it's a quantum leap in embracing digitalization into all that happens within the design, construction, maintenance, and the operation part of the building process itself. Then one other question here related to green mark. We are not directly, in that sense, connected to getting a green mark or a green mark professional. That's a totally different kind of program that BCA requires people to go through to get that qualification. Ours is a graduate program from NUS, MSc BPS. Certainly when you do this program, you pick up certain skill sets and certain traits that might help you advance in your own preparation for any other certification program, be it GMM, GMP, or even the Singapore Certified Energy Manager, which is part of the operational side of energy management in buildings. I hope that answered that question on that part. I posed one other point in the discussion, Mr. Bay and Mr. Ang. I think Singapore is very committed to reducing carbon emissions, and this whole aspect of addressing decarbonization in whatever ways we can. Any thoughts on that and how you relate that to what the program has been giving you some, I suppose, direction on the BPS program and decarbonization? Any thoughts?
Maybe I chip in my view.
Yeah,
is
right.
This program definitely will first thing help is I still remember that I learned the life cycle costing end to end, that kind of things, and that actually formed a very fundamental basis and concept of decarbonization. We talk about where the source of the product actually coming from to ship it to what you want to build it on site and end of the life cycle. You see this actually part of program life cycle costing will actually cover that portion that will definitely help. On top of that, other than your energy management module actually in the program, definitely this is again the basic fundamental before we talk about decarbonization. Yeah.
Right. Great. Any thought you have, Mr. Bay, on this aspect?
Yeah. I think I have gone through the program. It's very good. It completely covers many areas from the built environment technology, be it in some of the so-called even the technologies that undergoing R&D or already in the market, and also we also go into the aspect of the passive active design and which also related to the decarbonization and for building operation. And of course that for my thought is that for Singapore, particularly for Singapore context, because Singapore is a very hot and humid country and we need aircon most of the time and people are pampered with aircon. So basically I think one of the low-hanging fruit for decarbonization is we should still keep focused on the passive and active design. While concurrently, I don't deny that we should continue to explore new technology and cutting-edge technology to how to further improve and also pursue decarbonization for building design. But I think it is still a long way or a lot to do with this low-hanging fruit area, which is the active and passive design for building.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Bay. I see another question, whether this program is accredited by Washington Accord or Singapore Institution of Engineers. Graduate programs, typically, we don't seek accreditation of sorts. So the MSc BPS program is a university program that we don't have a formal accreditation with any particular agency. And you'll probably find similar kind of context for most graduate programs in the university anyway. Is there any other question that other participants may want to ask? I'm not sure if you are able to unmute yourself. Feel free to pose a question through the through your audio mode as well. If not, you can just type your questions through the chat box. And I'm just getting a trigger on my screen that the session will come to an end very soon. But this being the last session for the day or the evening, we can't spill over a couple of minutes or 5 minutes beyond the allocated time. So I see a question here. Will we be able to do a live project as part of the program? I should let my esteemed guest answer this question.
Every module there is a project, and we are using live. I'm actually for info. I'm using a live data. I'm using live implementation, live measurement actually in the live buildings.
Okay, great, wonderful. So to this question from Deepthi Srimali, it's very definitely a project-oriented program. It's very real, very real life like in all the content that we deal with. So the connection to the real world through project work, the studio is yet another example of what happens in the world, in the real world, through a typical building design process, the integrated building design process that we very strongly emphasize on. So almost every module has a strong project component to it, which is almost like being a live project. Any other question?
To add on to this, actually, just to share that actually, when we were doing the one of the module related to building energy audit, actually one of our project member who working for data centers, and we managed to access to the data centers with the arrangement by our team member, and then we conduct, we collect the so-called the real-time operating data and from the BMS, and we did a very comprehensive energy audit of the data center actually, which is very interesting too.
Thank you, Mr. Bay. I see a question here. If I'm already in the field of ESD, what else can I learn from this program? I suppose learning is a journey that all of us feel that at any point in time, there are always new developments, new concepts, new thinking that keep emerging. And I think one of the things that we try to do in a graduate program like this, the DPS program, is to package all these new developments and concepts in a kind of a structured manner to offer both the theory of it as well as the practical aspects of it. A lot of us are active researchers in our own field, and we certainly try to bring in our own research findings, new research findings into the program content, into the program, various courses, the modules that we teach. A good part of it is probably not yet in the practice, in the real world in that sense, but we believe as active researchers, in order to enhance the sustainable development aspect of it, let's not forget we're talking about the well and green aspect, that means occupant comfort and health and well-being on the one side, and to match that, balance that with the energy efficiency, the carbon mitigation, and all that sort of thing. So I think structured presentation of developing theoretical concept is something that I would think adds to the value of a graduate program like this. And there are always new things that keep developing. For instance, currently the big buzzword, as I've been mentioning a couple of times, is this whole notion on decarbonization. And in that regard, both the embodied carbon and the operational carbon come into discussion, and how we can look at this, not dropping everything else, but integrating this with the overall thinking of what is happening in the field at this point. So it is a continuous learning process in my mind that I think we will be better placed when we embrace newer concepts, newer technologies, newer strategies, newer thinking as we go along in our workforce. One of the challenges that we often find, perhaps Mr. Bain, Mr. Ang can add to this particular point, when you are working, is the pressure of your project that drives you. When you work and study, a lot of our participants normally do. Both Mr. Bay and Mr. Ang went through that journey. They were working full-time and they were reading this program on a part-time basis. Is how you balance your work and your academic kind of a pursuit. And I think that's the kind of challenge that one faces, and you learn as you are on your working career. So maybe just some last thought on this particular point, Mr. Bay and Mr. Ang, and then we can probably try and bring this to a close, because I'm getting the trigger that we should close very soon. Just maybe a minute each of you. Mr. Bay, you first, and then Mr. Ang.
Okay. I think there's no shortcut when I decided to take up this program and at a part-time basis. And there's no shortcut. I would say that I will to sacrifice my family time and work longer hours for work as well as study. So this is how I try for balance and between work and study. But however, I definitely have to sacrifice some of my time with my family, especially during the weekend. I got to work, and also for study and my work as well. So for my case, I think it's a bit special. I just want to share with you that actually, despite I've been working in this industry for more than 30 years, end of the program, I realized actually I really appreciate that I learned and I enhance my knowledge in the module I've gone through in this BPS program. And for your information, actually, I graduated from BPS, Master of Science in BPS last year. And I'm glad that I managed to get through, and I graduated at the age of 56 last year.
Thank you, Mr. Bay. Mr. Ang, last thoughts on this point.
Sure. Just a very quick one. I think Executive Prof. Shekhar actually highlighted that learning is never age problems. Factors are age should not be a hindrance to learning. In fact, I graduated when I was at the age of also mid-45, something like that. I can't remember exactly. My apologies to that. Again, actually, I have a privilege that whatever I was working and learning at the same time, I can apply almost immediately. I can actually find you. I have a lecturers that I can actually go to tell that, hey, Prof, I tried this on site. I have this problem. Can you actually guide me a bit academically? Then we can actually go back and try again. So this is the advantage that probably as a working adults, we're still doing learning at the same time. Importantly, actually, the takeaway actually from this program, as I shared, that it allowed me to change from a FM operational guys to today I am able to lead a few task force in innovation sustainability, to leading a team in terms of implementation, real industrial issues, looking into innovation and sustainability, or even technology solutioning actually to the buildings. It is something that the program itself holistically actually equipped me with this. And last and foremost, that the alumni. Everybody that go through this program, at the end of the day, we are all in the built environment. Because we are taking master program under undergraduate. Undergraduate, sometimes they may divert into other property agents to insurance agents. But master program, when you go into that, you are likely to actually still stay in the industry. So the alumni actually network actually form a very good friends. I use the word when you actually leave the program, from classmate to alumni to friends. The schools is somewhere that you can reference to. If let's say I have an industrial problem, the friends that you actually make during your 1 year or 2 years program, let's say you're taking part-time or full-time program, is somebody that you can actually check in with as and when you need it. It's an ESD problem, to a developer PM problems, to an MME problem, even to FM problems. This is something that actually I advantage after taking this program. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ang and Mr. Bay, for your very open sharing of your experiences, and I really appreciate that. And thanks to all the participants on this session, the final session for today, 29. And there is another session coming up tomorrow. I believe you would be aware of it, and you're probably planning to attend them. So at this time, I need to close the session because I'm getting the trigger that we should complete and end the session soon. So thank you again, and have a wonderful evening, everyone. And once again, to my guests, Mr. Bay and Mr. Ang, thank you so much for your presence and sharing today. So with that, I'll say goodbye to everyone, and the
Bye-bye.
meeting and the room will be closed shortly. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.